Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing a video on the importance of Tim Drake coming out as bisexual. So there's going to be a lot of things I talk about here, and I'm very excited to dive into, and I wanted to make a video, honestly, like that Tuesday, but I didn't want to spoil it for you guys, even though it was all over the internet, so I was giving it a couple of days before discussing it and taking a deep dive into it. So if you guys don't know, I am bisexual, so this is a very important story to me, and also I'm a huge Batman fan. I'm also a huge Bat Family fan. I'm probably a bigger Bat Family fan than I am a Batman fan. So to hear that Tim Drake was coming out as bisexual was very important to me. And I'm going to talk about the story itself and then talk about maybe some of the reactions that this piece has had. But the story from issue 1, in part 1, if you've been following my reviews, it was very queer-coded. It was pretty obvious that's what Tim was talking about and saying, oh, I don't know who I am, and we get to see pretty much a date between Tim and Bernard. So my biggest worry was like, okay, we're just going to be queer baited, and because how many times has that happened with Tim Drake, and that's it. This is hidden in pages of an anthology book. What's happening here? I didn't know if it was actually giving us space to reveal something so big, and I'm actually curious to hear if sales for this were bigger because, no one really expected this to happen in an anthology book. But yeah, once we get to the end of the story, I thought it was paced very well to get to the point to say Tim Drake is bi-curious and wants to understand his feelings for Bernard. And what I liked is that it was a true bisexual story. It never erased his feelings for Stephanie. It honestly goes out of its way to say, I love Stephanie, and I've always loved Stephanie, but I need to explore this side of myself, which is a very human thing, a very real thing, when you get out of a relationship, that it could be a big reason of why you want to get out of a relationship is to figure yourself out and why a relationship's not working. So I enjoyed that aspect. Now, I have heard the complaint of, which honestly is probably the only complaint I have had about this story is, well, how about Stephanie? Stephanie is a big character. Now, Stephanie Brown's literally one of my favorite characters of all time. It's like right next to Spider-Girl and Kitty Pryde, it's Stephanie Brown. I adore that character. I love that character. But the complaint has been like, oh, well, they broke off panel. Also, the other complaint, which I don't think other people understand what bisexuality, if this is their complaint, of like, well, he liked Wonder Girl and Steph, like, how can he be gay now? He's not gay. He's bi. He does that. Those relationships were never erased. He still likes girls. He just also likes boys, or curious of seeing if he enjoys this person. That's what the whole story is about. And seeing exactly what his bisexuality means. So, again, going into why some people have complained is like, well, the breakup was off panel. Which I agree. Like, I wish there was more room to tell that story, which is why I kind of wish it wasn't in an anthology, and why I wish Tim Drake had his own book, or Stephanie Brown had her own book where we could explore this. But sadly, those two characters don't have their own book, and there's very limited pages to tell this story. So I understood why we couldn't get the breakup on panel. Another thing, I think that's a bigger conversation about why Stephanie Brown needs to have more panel time. Like, it's only a complaint right now that's like, oh, well, they shouldn't broke up off panel. But no one, I think a lot of the same people making those arguments are not arguing, well, every week say, well, why am I not seeing Stephanie Brown? I want to see more Stephanie Brown, this female character. Wouldn't it be nice to see more Stephanie Brown? Like, this should be a complaint that we've been having previously. I think that's the bigger complaint of, like, Stephanie Brown's not getting enough panel time to have big moments like this. And if you think about it, when they got back together was also off panel. So their breakup and them getting together was off panel. I think that's a bigger conversation about having more representation of a female character like Stephanie Brown in the Bat family, and having her own moments and allowing that time for those two characters that have been kind of sidelined and have a lot of stories in between the panels. It just has happened, and in a coincidence, it had to do with their breakup and the bisexual story as well. So that's a complaint I've definitely been hearing. And that's probably the only complaint I've had about that story, is that I do wish there was more time for that. But overall, again, what I enjoyed is that it felt like a true bisexual story, and it felt realistic, and it was important for me, as an LGBTQ person, to see a story like that with a bigger character, because that's been definitely the biggest note I've been hearing from a lot of people is like, well, why can't they do it with a new character? And yes, we've had seen queer characters that are newer, but it's always this idea of when a new character is introduced as queer, it's like, well, why are we pandering? Why do we have this gay character now? Why do we need this? You know, why do we introduce it like they're just the gay character? But let's say they wait 5 or 10 issues to reveal that they're queer in some sort. Is like, oh, well, my new favorite character is gay. Why would they reveal this? So it just feels like this, like, subtle homophobia. And that's kind of, I just wish more people would give it a chance and show that this story has always been there. Tim has always been queer coded. We've seen this with the Bernard character and with Connor Kent. So it's not something that's come out of the blue. I see a lot of people comparing this to the Iceman situation. I just don't feel like they're similar situations. The reason the Iceman coming out rubbed me the wrong way as an LGBTQ reader is because it didn't really feel like a genuine coming out. First of all, Iceman didn't even get to come out himself. He was outed by Jean Grey, and I feel like it wasn't really a true LGBTQ experience. And then I do understand some people's complaints of, well, he had relationships with other girls and liked other girls, and at least it seemed like he enjoyed those other girls. So I feel like it's a little different from this Tim Drake situation, who is a bisexual character who none of his previous stories have been erased. And I feel like with the Iceman situation, they could have handled his LGBTQ storylines a little bit better, and I don't know if they fully did that correctly, or as people would say, organically. But I do think that the Tim Drake story was told organically and through pacing. You know, the Iceman story just came out of nowhere. It's just like kind of this random issue that happened. But the Tim Drake story was being subtly told throughout this whole entire arc. It's at the end of the arc that it was being told. So I feel like there was a big difference between Iceman and Tim Drake. And what I was going to say, it's the importance of having an original character or a long-form character is because it's nice to have a character that has a big name that can represent you. I think that's so good and cool, and it feels nice. It just like, we have so many straight characters out there. It is nice to have just a few queer characters to have representation, and that being important, and especially for bisexuals. I mean, for me, I did not have much representation at all growing up, and learning about bisexuality was like through YouTube. Honestly, like I would find YouTube videos like, oh, that's bisexuality. I didn't know that's how it felt, and that's what the experience was. Like, you can understand what the word is, but you don't know the experience. So to have a story with Tim and show the experience of someone who in a more straight passing society and maybe a different decade would say, oh, I could just go on and being straight and not fully get into these feelings. But what was really cool about this, he's actually tapping into those feelings, saying, I really want to explore myself. I really want to explore this side of things. And I feel like that's a very genuine bisexual experience. A lot of bisexual people come out later in life because there's so little representation, don't even understand themselves that they are bisexual, and that's even possible. So to have more stories like Tim Drake, it is important and powerful. And that's why I do think it's important to have some of these older characters come out if it makes sense for the character. Again, I do think you can compare it to the Iceman situation, where I don't think they did it correctly. I do think they could have had a queer person intervene in that story, in the coming out story, and maybe giving some notes. That way it could have been a more organic storyline. And going back to the new character situation, again, I would love to have more queer new characters, but like, why is it only new characters? Is it because you don't want to see them at all? It's just like, oh, they got their own title, I don't want to read that. So it's like, we're not allowed to have queer characters in a Batman franchise. Like, I just feel like, let's open up to this and open up to people's experiences. And I feel like that's very important. And overall, I thought this was a really good story, and I hope it's not dropped. I hope we get to see more of it, and more people give it a true shot, because a lot of people are reacting before anything has even happened. We haven't seen anything between these two characters yet, and I hope people really give it a chance and read the stories and see how powerful these stories can be when they are well written and giving more layers to characters, because I think that's the whole point of comics, is like, why is Batman still a character? Why are we exploring stories about him if there aren't more layers to say, if there's not more to build on the character? That's the whole point, is writers build on and artists build on each other to tell better stories and to tell more creative stories and to expand on what the possibility of a character is. And I think that's so important. So those are my thoughts on Tim Drake being bisexual. I really enjoyed the story, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. And I hope it's not just hidden in the pages of the Batman Anthology, and this is explored in different stories as well, and tell powerful narratives about bisexuality and to show the importance of that representation. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what you thought, and definitely go comment, subscribe, and like this video. And if you enjoyed this commentary, I do have a bisexual comic book anthology coming out August 30th about the bisexual experience, ranging from high fantasy to romance, and it's a book I've been working on for a long time. It's exactly the stuff I've been discussing about representation and why it's important, and in showcasing different sides of bisexuality that maybe people wouldn't know otherwise, because that hasn't really been showcased in other media. So hopefully you guys can go check that out. The Kickstarter launches August 30th for that one, and I have a story myself in that one, and I'm really proud of the anthology. So definitely go follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out those comics and my other comics. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss our favorite comics and comic book news. Thanks, guys. Bye.